5-1.
Well, we've had some major success in the last few weeks. I won't get into the gritty details of it, but we've narrowed that gap, and some recent polling came out and put us only about 10 points behind 2 weeks ago. And since then, we've had Laura Ingraham down, and we put our TV ads up and radio, and so it's closing, and the word's out. I mean, the people just need to see the truth once, right? I mean, falsehoods can be all
But Dave,
over
what
the
I'm
place.
telling you is people can get wound up in these on these polls. They can get wound up in the media of the moment. If you don't turn the vote out, it ain't going to happen.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you, Eric's establishment side has no wind in the sails at all, and my folks are so revved up. They've been revved up for 6 months, and we won the 7th District contest and the Henrico contest. And last week in the Senate contest, in the 7th District, the grassroots candidate lost by 1 vote to the establishment candidate. And so the logic there is send some pretty good signals our way for tomorrow.
No, you mean they lost by 1 vote, but not popular vote at the convention, correct? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, actually, of the delegates. It was a convention, so, and I'm talking...
All right, listen to me. I'm all for you. I want you to win.
Yep.
But conventions and polls mean nothing.
Yep, I agree with you.
They mean absolutely nothing. So I want to tell my audience the urgency of the moment. And my reach into Richmond in that area is limited. So I just want the whole nation listening to know, if you know somebody in the 7th Congressional District where this race is occurring, you need to contact them and make sure they turn out, because a lot of times in these primaries, their turnout is down. So if Dave Brat here can get a big turnout, he's gonna make a difference, right?
Yeah, no, across the board, I'm running on all the conservative platform, the 10th Amendment especially, just bringing power from the feds back to the state and to the people where it belongs. I'm running on term limits. And I'm pledging to meet with my constituents, and that would be a new thing. Eric Cantor hasn't had an open town hall in 5 years where he takes questions from constituents.
Cantor, the power's really gone to this guy's head. I mean, he's trying to take over the Republican Party, the entire Commonwealth of Virginia.
Yep.
He's trying to remove committee chairmen who don't genuflect when he walks into the room and do exactly what he tells them to do. I mean, he is really trying to build a power base, and I listen to the guy, and I look at the guy, and I say, who the hell is this guy? He doesn't strike me as particularly bright. He's not particularly articulate. Honestly, he really doesn't connect with the American people. He's a local machine politician. Is that about right?
Yeah, well, that's right. There's a nice book by Peter Schweitzer called Extortion, and that captures it pretty well. I mean, he's been handed the money baton. It started with DeLay, the hammer, and then it went to Roy Blunt, and then that baton passed to Eric Cantor. And so he is the head of the crony Chamber of Commerce battalion, like you say, and that's what's at stake. On Obamacare, we're writing laws that don't apply to the people anymore, right? Big business gets exempted, unions gets exempted, congressional and their staff get exempted. So we're writing laws that don't apply to the people, and the rule of law is in shambles. And I teach third world economic development, and when you lose the rule of law, economic growth is coming right next.
Here's the other thing he's doing as a majority leader. They're bringing bills to the floor of the House where they don't get a majority of the Republicans, but they get a majority of the Democrats to send those bills to Harry Reid and pass them into law.
Oh, that was right. This past January, the debt ceiling increase, Eric was one of 28 Republicans only, one of 28 Republicans that voted with the Democrats for that debt ceiling increase with no concessions. And so he's telling everybody I'm lying about, him funding. I called it fully funding Obamacare. And the paper took me to task because he didn't fully fund it, because some of it's in the non-discretionary part of the budget, which is just a bunch of baloney. But, he's in the House. The House has the power of the purse, and Obamacare is fully funded in law. So that's the bottom line.
The Richmond Times-Dispatch is a liberal paper. It wasn't always that way, but it's gotten worse and worse as time goes on, like so many of them. And they've endorsed Cantor. I mean, that tells us something, doesn't it?
Yeah, not only did they endorse, they didn't even mention me in the article, and it's not a vanity thing. It's just, first of all, he won't debate. The paper knows full well he sent out 10 to 12 glossies threatening, saying that I'm going to cut Social Security, kick Grandma off the mountaintop. He said I led the I don't even know what it's called, the pro-choice march, the Million Women March, etc. I mean, I know. I'm a liberal professor.
They're turning you into Ted Kennedy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm Ted. So yeah, But the voter. I mean, that I could not have bought the name ID, and the shocker now is he's saying now that I'm trying to get the Democrat vote. Well, that's because the Democrats think I'm a liberal who worked for Tim Kaine, and there's a signal that I guess they're going to vote, and so Cantor's sending out stuff lying about that.
Well, listen, these are open primaries. I mean, why shouldn't they come in there and vote for you?
Well,
these aren't illegal. These aren't illegal votes. They're perfectly legal.
Yeah, no, right. Oh, it's legal, and it's an open primary, right? And so Cantor's just stepped in it. I mean, he called me a liberal professor for 6 months, and now he's upset that some of the voters are confused about what he said, and he's created a chaos.
All right. Now, so let me ask you this. What are the three biggest things you differ with Eric Cantor on?
Yeah, well, term limits, I honestly think the founders, that's the one thing they could not anticipate. You know, they're 90% agricultural. They could not have anticipated this massive, $100 billion crony nexus we got built up here. And it makes it very hard on the challenger. In this case, I'm lucking out because Eric's folks ran the worst campaign in history, and I actually think I'm going to win tomorrow. And so term limits can do a world of good. And then secondly, I'm mentioning the entitlement problem. It's $127 trillion in unfunded liabilities. Mm-hmm. Go to the bottom of the U.S. debt clock, and there it is. And those four programs will consume the entire federal budget.
So what does Eric Cantor want to do about unfunded liability?
No, well, that's what I'm saying. There's no leadership on the Republican or Democrat side. They won't even mention
hold on, I just want to make the point. So those programs are going to collapse of their own weight, according to the trustees.
That's right. And I teach the college kids they're going to collapse on the next generation. That's economics is always about the unseen, right? That's who it's going to hurt. So we've got spending run amok, and no one sees the pain yet. Well, it's coming like a freight train on the next generation. And then the third thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be accessible, and I'm going to keep my word. When I give my word, I'm going to put it on paper. And if I don't keep my word, I expect the people to throw me out in 2 years. If I lie one time, I want them to kick me out.
Mm-hmm. And Eric Cantor, I mean, I can't think of anything he's actually done to advance the ball of liberty or private property rights or constitutionalism. Can you?
No. I mean, that is the chamber. He does follow the chamber to a T. I mean, big business wants amnesty, so he delivers the chamber cheap labor. And everybody in the 7th District knows who the cheap labor is. It's them, right? Their wage rates are going to fall. The job market's terrible. He's for this Enlist Act, where you're going to take illegal aliens, put them into the military, and create a pathway to citizenship for illegals in the armed services. So the generals and the admirals were right.
May I slow down there? Which is amazing to me, since they're already cutting the military personnel force.
Right, 30,000.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, right. So we got vets coming back that are being basically fired, let go. The Army Times just reported that. And so these guys with a straight face are making these proposals for illegals to take their spots. And right, I mean, it is arrogance, right? It's the fatal conceit. Old Hayek talked about a long time ago, where the policy wonks think they're the geniuses, and it's not. They have a fatal conceit.
You're exactly right. And here's the other thing that bothers me. These guys don't have a message to take to the American people. There's a reason why the American people are not moving as heavily as they should for the Republican Party, because they don't have a message of liberty and private property rights and economic capitalist growth and anything like that. He's a wheeler dealer. He plays the left wing's game, does he not?
Yeah, no, well, that's exactly right, and that explains why he's running the negative ads, right? I mean, after 14 years up there, he should be proud of his record. He's in a major leadership role, and he can't come down and run a simple campaign when he's got 30 times my expenditures on a record that he's proud of, and the answer is no. So day one, and the last time he ran against the Tea Party candidate, 100% Tea Party, and he ran the exact same campaign. He just called him a liberal and won. So he thinks that cookie-cutter method works, I guess.
And you know what? He calls them a liberal. It's the liberal playbook that he's using, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, it's just straight out. Throw grandma off the cliff, all these kind of tactics, and accuse your opponent of lying when you're lying. Every time his campaign spokesperson says something, the good thing I know is that I know exactly where I hit a nerve. And I'll tell you, the nerve for Eric Cantor is the Stock Act. He's saying, of course, Dave knows that the Stock Act hasn't been a problem because I forgot to use the word insider trading based on congressional knowledge. So he's saying I'm lying about that one. So
Yeah, but let me slow you down. That's been documented by Schweitzer, the fellow that wrote the book Extortion you were talking about, that Eric Kander was the moving force to protect family members from insider information from Congress, particularly his wife, who the family has done very, very well, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, I mean, you can just go out to all the open source docs and all that stuff. You can see the wealth accumulation of all the members of Congress sitting right there.
All right, Dave Brat, what is your website if anybody in the nation wants to help you?
Yep, Dave Brat for Congress. Brat is just the original, B-R-A-T, DaveBrat4Congress.com, and we still got ads going up all the way through tomorrow night, so if anyone can help out, lend a hand, we'd appreciate it. And more importantly, just as importantly, send your emails, young people, go to your Facebooks and light it up for any college kids you know in my district in the 7th. Basically Richmond City, Chesterfield, Hanover, the whole area, going up to Culpeper, over to New Kent. And, Mark, thank you for having me on today. I really appreciate it.
All right, good luck to you, my friend.
Awesome. God bless. Have a great night, Mark.
All right, you too. I'll be right back.